The views and opinions expressed on the following program may not necessarily reflect the views of the staff, management, or board of Hope Media Group and KSBJ. It's what's happening around us, in our town, suburb, city, in our community. It's Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Hello, and welcome to Community Beat, where we're keeping you tuned in to the topics that are impacting our local communities and helping them to thrive. I'm your host, Kim Kasi McKee, and today I'm happy to introduce you to some of the recipients of this year's KSBJ Community Impact Award. For the past 3 years, KSBJ has recognized outstanding members of our community who've gone above and beyond to show the spirit of generosity and service to our communities throughout the greater Houston area and beyond. They each embody our mission, which is to love Jesus, serve others, and spread hope. Our award recipients were selected from 3 categories, including an outstanding individual, nonprofit, and a business. They were honored at a recent reception and concert at Houston's Bell Tower. Our listeners submitted over 100 nominations, and some of them floated to the top. Last week, we introduced you to the winner of our outstanding individual category, Kyle Buthard. Today, you'll meet the winners from our outstanding business and nonprofit categories. We'll begin with Ed Newby, who's the owner of All-Star Air Conditioning and Heating Services. Hello, Ed, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kim. It's a huge honor to be here.
So, Ed, tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Well, I have a family of 4. I started a company here in Houston in 2010 called All-Star Air Conditioning and Heating Services.
Are you from Houston?
I am not from Houston. I got here as soon as I could, though. My wife and my children, my 2 youngest children were born here in Houston, but I have 2 older ones in college and 2 in middle school.
Awesome. Well, I understand that they've all had an opportunity to be a part of this amazing outreach that was birthed out of your company. So tell us about Operation Snowstorm.
Sure. Operation Snowstorm was founded in 2015. When I started my company in 2010, I wanted to make sure that we were a company that gave back to the community that we work in. So we live, we work, we play in the same communities as our customers, and we wanted to give back. And going forward to 2014, we had a customer with a child with terminal cancer. She was 4 years old, and I met with these folks and went home and cried myself to sleep. I'm a dad of, that's my best hat. I'm dad.
Yeah.
And so to be a father and have 4 children, it didn't resonate well that, these families are going to have to, face the worst. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to come up with something that we could do for them. Something just take their mind off for just a minute or ease the pain just a little bit. We're riding around here in August and it was 100 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. And of course, being air conditioning, that's busy times. And my daughter was with me and she's like, man, I wish it would snow here. And I was like, you know what? This light bulb just kicked on. It's like, that's what we're going to do for this kid. We're going to make it snow.
Wow.
We make it cold inside. We can make it cold outside.
Amazing.
And so it started out just to be a one-time gesture to, bring a snow day to a kid, especially in Houston where it's 100 degrees out and there's ice. Mm-hmm. And so my wife, we talked about it and prayed about it. And she's like, does this family even want a snow party? Like, we don't know what we're doing. Like, we're air conditioning folks.
Yeah.
So I was like, nope, we're going to do this. So we did it. And that was in late August. And the little girl's name was Raylan. She's here in Cyprus. Followed her story for the next few months. And unfortunately, Raylan passed right at Christmas time. And I got to meet Raylan, sit in her driveway with her and go through her little pocketbook thing she had. And she was showing me her coins. And I fell in love with her. She was just a great kid.
Wow.
And so Christmas came and went and, a lot of tears through there and a lot of emotions. And New Year's Eve came and we said, hey, we'd like to raise some money to be able to do this again because it was a little pricey.
Sure.
And so we got some people together and started a fundraiser. We fundraised through March and the goal was to get about $1,500 so we could do it again.
Okay.
That's about what the ice cost.
Mm-hmm.
We had a small fundraiser here in Cyprus and we raised $30,000 in a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, amazing.
So
what a confirmation, huh?
Well, it was. It resonated with people and, it was a service that, we could do this again. Mm-hmm. So right after that, a foundation was started. So 2015 was the official start of Operation Snowstorm.
Wow.
To date, this many years later, we've done over 60 private snowstorms where we've done that same snow party to that kid's front door. And it's just a time to be a kid. There's no doctors, there's no needles. It's just, it's a time to be spent with your family and make a memory. And that's exactly what Operation Snowstorm is. It's just a light in a dark place. Wow.
Making memories for children who are facing a very challenging time in their health. How do people find out about you, that this is something that is available?
So we work with a lot of folks in the childhood cancer world.
Okay.
Hospice centers. Memorial Hermann has a hospice center that's fantastic. We work with Texas Children's, MD Anderson, things like that. And those end-of-life resources, those folks, they'll call us and say, hey, we have a child that's going to go home. And go home basically means hospice or palliative care. Mm-hmm. And they give our information to the families. We don't take their information for HIPAA things. So the families get in contact with us and say, hey, we'd like our snow day. And from there, it gets scheduled. And, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It's year round. So it doesn't have to be in the winter. We've done many snow parties where everybody's in shorts.
The ice just melts a little quicker, right?
It's a funny thing. People always ask you, Ed, how do you keep the ice from melting?
Yeah.
And these are the truest words I could ever say. I'm only there to put the ice down. Somebody bigger makes it stick around. That is God's work. That is not me. Yeah. I am hands. That's right. All we're doing we're just attachments.
Sure.
There's been plenty of days where we're driving down to these kids' house and it's pouring rain. Kim, I've never been rained out.
Wow.
I'm talking about skies open, beautiful lights, and it happens. And it gives you chills just thinking about it, but you see so many miracles yourself.
Yes.
With things like this. It's never rained out once.
Wow, that is so amazing. We're visiting with Ed Newby, who, along with his company, All Star Air Conditioning and Heating Services and Operation Snowstorm, they were the winners for our outstanding business for KSBJ's Community Impact Awards. And so we just wanted you to have the opportunity to meet and hear the heart of Ed and his family who have started this. So tell us, Ed, I met some of your wonderful children.
Yeah.
Sounds like a family affair. Do they actually get to do hands-on with Operation Snowstorm?
So my older two were there when it was, they're in college now. So they were there when we implemented it.
Okay.
So they had to learn, hey, you can't play in the snow. It's not for us. We have a lot of things that we teach our kids. We're always trying to show how to take care of someone, not just tell them, hey, be a good person. Here's how you do it. We show you. So they got a different realm of it, but our younger kids were born into it. So they don't know anything different, but it's really awesome that, my 8-year-old and my 10-year-old will get there and they kind of know what their role is when they get there. They're there to help blow the snow. They stand off to the sides. And if kids are, maybe don't have siblings or they don't have anybody to play with, my kids step right in. They're instant siblings.
Oh.
They'll sit there and make snowballs with them, hand them to them. My oldest Hudson, he'll hand a kid a bucket of snowballs and have him just bust him on him. He's like, here, throw them at me. So they get into these little snowball fights and you don't see, sometimes you can't not look and see who's sick. That's how crazy it is.
Wow.
Some of them are obviously in wheelchairs.
Yes.
But I've been to so many snow parties where there's so many kids to partake and so many siblings. You can't pick out who's sick because everybody's happy.
Oh, I love
and
it.
It's a miracle that, you see with your own eyes and it just happens right in front of you. A lot of these kids are super sick when I get there. They're not feeling well and maybe they don't want to even participate and then let that first hour go and it's chaos.
They're all in.
It's all in.
So the child gets to invite whomever they want.
They can bring out whoever they want. We come with very limited people. It's not for us. It's not a spectacle. So I don't invite too many people. Our board members come, some volunteers sometimes. And depending on, of course, we have a photographer. Her name's Mary Beth. She takes hundreds of pictures. And some of these pictures should, they should have prizes to them. She's capturing these faces. And ultimately, sometimes it's the last pictures. And they're happy pictures.
Wow.
And people get stumped with it. They're like, hey, how's this picture so happy in such a dark situation? And that's what Operation Snowstorm is. And it's a blessing for my wife and I to be able to use it for our children to see that some kids don't have the same things,
Yeah.
People live different ways or illnesses that you don't have any say over.
That's right.
And so it's very humbling to be able to be there to serve, because we're all servants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll live and die as servants. We serve people. And it's great for them to be able to see it and take it as their own.
Give me the second one's name. I met Hudson
Lucas.
and Lucas.
Lucas Cash, yeah.
Yes.
He's the guy that will start a snowball fight with you. He'll chunk it maybe a little too hard sometimes. He's the younger brother you didn't know you had. Both of them are great, though.
That's awesome.
They know their parts, and our oldest, you know, they've done such a fantastic job too. You know, they would dress up as Elsa and Olaf, because that was right when Frozen came out. So both of my kids have been entertaining kids for, you know, their times. So the whole family just really gets into it, and we have some very good board members that have been with us a long time. So we're very, very fortunate to have the same folks with us and traveling. It is not a one person or a one family.
Sure.
It is a village. It really is a village.
Absolutely.
You know, so we've been blessed.
So what has been most rewarding about this for you? Just the overall process.
For me, this is who I actually am. So
Okay.
I'm a lot of guys. I wear a lot of hats. I'm dad. I'm husband. I'm the air conditioning guy. I love that guy too.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the chance for me to really give back and go all in. I'm a very emotional teddy bear kind of guy. My heart is on my sleeve.
Yeah.
And this allows me to show it. And my middle son, Hudson, he has the same heart as I do. And it's nice to, you know, connect with him and just be able to give back. You know, owning a business, you're always concerned about profit and
the bottom line.
The P&L. And this allows us to put people over profits sometimes.
Yes.
It's important to have a business that thrives, and our company does really well. We're very honest and very good people. But Operation Snowstorm is an outlet for us to serve, you know, without oftentimes the recognition or, you know, I feel like the philanthropy is best done behind a veil. You don't know who's doing what, you know, it's a good avenue for that.
That's awesome. So how can people support you? What are some of the things that you need from our audience? You know, volunteers or financial support? How can people be a part of Operation
Absolutely.
Snowstorm?
So Operation Snowstorm was designed that not a single person here gets a dime. We don't want to be paid. We're here to donate. I was also able to set everything up to where we don't have a building. We don't have a ton of overhead. So any donations that are given, because we're ran by donations, go straight to the kids. You know, we're not paying for letterhead. I know that has to happen in a lot of places, and there's a lot of great foundations, especially for here in Houston for kids with cancer, that need those things. I don't ever want to be the guy that takes more than I need.
Sure.
So I have my ice costs, maybe some fuel to get back and forth, but that's it. And so we've had a lot of private donations come through. We have an organization in the Klein area, Gary Green Real Estate Company. They do several fundraisers throughout the year, and we're their recipient. They just write us a check, and it comes to us, and then in turn that into our ice guy, who is Ronnie K at RK Ice. The guy does a fantastic job of shutting his business down.
Wow.
And it's a very important guy. He supplies a ton of ice through Houston, and he's become one of my very best friends. And I bet that guy has maybe not missed 2 snowstorms.
Wow.
And he has to hand unload that bag into that snow machine. They're 40-pound bags of ice. It's 5 pallets of it. And he has to stand there with his crew, and they bust every bag open, and they get in that snow machine, and that snow's done in 30 minutes.
That's amazing.
That's some work.
Absolutely.
But to see other businesses, you know, see your mission, see your vision, and take it as their own and stop what they're doing, you know, it's such a huge blessing. But going back to your question, we do have resources on our website, operationsnowstorm.org, that you can volunteer as volunteer.
Okay.
You know, we have several opportunities for things throughout the year. There's a place where you can donate monetarily, and just know we're one of those places that if you do donate monetarily, it's not going anything but kids. And that's just the way it is. We have our own, you know, bookkeeping and things like that where I don't write checks myself. Like I wanted to separate myself from the organization because I don't want it to be that question of where's my money go. It doesn't go to me. I promise.
Sure. So how can we be praying for you?
You know, Kim, one of the biggest things that I thought about this last night, and let's just pray that these families hear about us in time. You know, there's often so many times that they didn't get their opportunity, and it crushes my soul. You know, sometimes it just got to me too late. So we want to pray that, these families get the resources. They understand that we're here. They get in contact with us, know what we can do for them, and then it gets done. That's the biggest thing. And pray for those families that when they do have this darkness setting over them, that they become okay and, they use their faith. And it's hard to describe. It really is. But we just pray for these families,
Yes. Share one of those stories with me, one of those families. I know there are many. There
are multiple. There's one that sticks out the most to me right now. It was for our third recipient. His name was Creighton Heslop. He was 24 months old. And his parents have taught me a lot. They made his snow day happen. And Creighton passed shortly after his snowstorm. And it took me a long time to get past those things.
Sure.
I would go to the services. I would spend a lot of time with the families, and it would just railroad me. And I'm like, I can't keep doing it. And so I finally figured out I had to get past myself. Okay. It's not about me. It's about making that opportunity for that family to be able to get the experience. So I retooled myself and started talking back with the Heslops at the time. And, they said, hey, we'd like to, and we're called to serve too. We want to come aboard and act as board members and go through and offer these same day that we got, because we didn't know we needed it.
Wow.
You don't know that you needed a snow party, but you did. Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful thing. And Barry and Chris, their husband and wife, they served with us for several years. And then the past couple of years, Barry wasn't feeling too good, especially after COVID. And we learned that Barry had cancer as well. And Barry's one of those guys that would break his own soul to get these families their day. He would talk to them about his experience. He would over and over, I could tell, just crush himself to have to explain it, tell them the next steps, what they can expect, tell his story. I mean, he honored that child so much. And it showed me that that's the kind of dad I want to be. Yeah. Now, this guy was under 6 foot tall, but I've always looked at him like he was 10 foot tall. Wow. He's a big man. And after being sick for so long, he passed from this cancer. So we lost Barry a year or two ago. And so we decided that we were going to make this snow slide so we can reach all kids with cancer, not just terminal, but all kids that go through it. Yes. Now, you can't set individual parties for, every kid with cancer. Houston's huge.
Sure, of course.
So we wanted to come up with a way to be able to involve those families as well. So we had a snow slide built. This thing is massive. It comes on the back of our trailers. It holds 20,000 pounds of ice.
Wow.
We blow that thing full of ice, and we'll take that thing to Texas Children's Hospital, back it up, and you'll watch 50 kids leave the hospital and go sledding.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not supposed to happen, but it does.
Wow.
And we were able, before Barry passed, to dedicate that slide to Creighton.
Aww.
So he got to see that, and that was enough for me.
Yes.
And so every time I'm blowing snow, he's right there on my shoulder helping me out.
Oh, wow.
So that's the one that resonates. They all do. They're all so sweet, and they're all so loving. I'll finish with this. If you come to my house, the UPS man drops something off. If I open up my garage door, I take a snow shovel, a full-size snow shovel to each snow party, and those kids sign it. I get that autograph. I have over 60 red shovels on my wall in my garage, and it's a massive tribute to those kids, and they're all autographed by those children.
Wow.
And they've all, I'd say 95% have passed. And so when I pull in the garage at night, the last thing I see is those shovels, and it reminds me that the work is not done. One of these days, the prayer is that I'm no longer needed because we've figured out something for childhood cancer. And until that day happens and I'm let go of my duties, this is what I'll do. This is how I'll serve the rest of my life.
Wow. Wow. And wow.
Hopefully I get fired one day, though, because they're going to find a cure for this.
Yes.
Childhood cancer does not get enough time. There's a lot of resources they still need. Some of these kids are still taking grown-up medications and dosages because there's nothing available. So as long as there's wind in my breath, or my lungs, we're going to advocate for these kids. But for right now, this is the job, and this is what we're going to do.
Wow. Well, Ed, for all of those lives and families you've already impacted and those that you will, we pray God will just continue to bless you guys.
Thank you so much.
And supply what is needed. And so we just want to thank you for joining us today. We've been talking with Ed Newby, owner of All Star air conditioning and heating services, and founder of Operation Snowstorm. And to get involved, just go to operationsnowstorm.org. And I know that Barry and his family would love for you to be a part of this amazing mission to families who are walking through childhood cancer. So God bless you, Ed. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Huge honor, Kim. It's a huge honor. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Amen.
So we've been talking with our award winners for KSBJ's Community Impact Awards. And right now we're introducing you to the winner of our nonprofit category. And that's James Lee and Bethel's Heavenly Hands. So James, we want to thank you for joining us today.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for having me. I'm excited about this opportunity.
Awesome. So James, tell us a little bit about yourself, let's say prior to Bethel's Heavenly Hands.
I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And then after going to college when I finished school, I joined the military. That's how I ended up in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And I got out of the military after one tour. I worked for a company called Lockheed, and then that job kind of went away.
Okay.
And a friend of mine was working for NASA. And in 1995, I took a job in the aircraft operations division at NASA that got me to Houston.
Okay.
And when I got here to Houston, just kind of got back to doing what God had called me to do. I was at a point in my life where, success wasn't an issue, but fulfillment was. So I found a new church, and a friend of mine told me about that church, and it was the first time I'd ever heard expository preaching. First time ever. Great, raised in a church, but I never heard expository preaching. And it drew me into wanting to learn more about the Bible. And I've always been a competitive person. And I'm thinking, well, if the pastor can look at this passage and find something like this, then why can't I look at the passage and find things that there's nothing mysterious or mystical about it? Mm-hmm. It's just about, and I found out it's just about putting in the work. So that's kind of what drew me back to the church. And then the word changed my life. 23 years later, I retired from NASA. But during that time, I was working at the church at Bethel's Family part-time. And I've done youth ministry. I've done the Christian education ministry. I've done several other ministries. I've helped with some church plants and done some things.
Okay.
In the past 6 years, after I retired, I came on staff part-time. And then there was a person that was working the pantry. And she was the director at the time, and she decided that her husband and her had talked about her coming home to raise the kids. They had small children.
Okay.
And so she came home to raise the children, and I was sitting in my office one day, and Pastor August came by, and he asked me to be a stopgap until we could find someone to fill the slot. And apparently the stopgap and the slot filler were the same person. And so now.
So you were there allegedly temporarily.
Yes.
And that's been how many years now?
5.
I think it's permanent now. It sounds
it's a 5-year temporary position. Yes, it is. But I will tell you, so to go back to the, being successful but not fulfilled, the work that we do now at the pantry is the most fulfilling work that I've ever done in my entire life.
Wow. Now, why would you say that? From all of the success in corporate America and all of that, and now working in a pantry as the executive director is the most fulfilling? Because
you get to see how the kingdom work and your part in the kingdom directly impacts the needs of the people. Okay. So that's the significance of seeing someone that has a need, just such a basic need as food.
Right.
And you're able to give them that, or help them to gain access.
Sure.
To those resources. It's just so fulfilling.
Wow. So tell us about Bethel's Heavenly Hands. Just kind of describe this operation that's happening on a weekly basis.
Well, Bethel's Heavenly Hands, and I'm a little biased, so if I sound a little biased, I'm very, very sorry, but Bethel's Heavenly Hands is the greatest benevolence ministry this side of heaven.
All right. Now, this is the executive director, so
yes.
You know how to take that.
But Bethel's Heavenly Hands was birthed out of the vision of the church at Bethel's Family, and it started with my pastor being raised one of 9 children.
Okay.
And not always having enough food to eat at the end of the day or at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And when he took over, or when he founded the church at Bethel's Family, he said as long as he was the pastor, that no one would go to bed hungry.
Wow.
And he started off just buying groceries out of his pocket to give to the needy families in the apartment complex where they started the ministry.
Okay.
And that was in 1994.
Mm.
So we fast forward to today. Bethel's Heavenly Hands serves over 12,000 people a month.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, today was our distribution day, and we had 800 cars and 250 walkers that came in today that were serviced just today.
Wow.
We're a Houston Food Bank partner. We're one of their larger partners. We're located in Southwest Houston. Now, food and food insecurity is something that neighborhood or that area is plagued by.
Okay.
So we are strategically located. God never does anything by mistake.
That's right.
So we are strategically located. That puts us equal distances from the grocery store that's 3 miles from our area in both directions. So people can come to the pantry to kind of supplement the lack of food. We're trying to get good, healthy fruits, good, healthy vegetables, good, healthy food to the people in the neighborhoods that don't have access.
Okay. You must have some kind of a volunteer army.
Yes.
To take care of 12,000 people per month. So who's running this?
We couldn't do what we do without volunteers.
Yes.
Our volunteers come from several sources.
Okay.
The church at Bethel's Family, which is our parent organization, we have volunteers that come from there. And it's amazing that a lot of the ladies and the gentlemen that come throughout the week, they're in their 70s.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
But a lot of them have more energy
I bet.
and strength than me. It's amazing. Just because you're 70 doesn't mean that you're old. It just means that you've been around a while.
All right.
Now, very few of them do what I say because they're 70. So,
So that's the trade-off.
Yeah, the trade-off
They're
is-
there, but they don't have to do what you say.
so we kind of compromise. Exactly. If you help me,
That is so funny.
So from the church at Bethel's Family, we receive those volunteers. We get people also on community service because we're connected to several of the court systems.
Okay.
And if you're out there and you run a red light, or if you're speeding, you get a ticket.
Yes.
You can go ahead and do community service. Come on down to Bethel's Heavenly Hands. We'll sign you off and do those 30 hours.
That is awesome.
And then we're connected with other ministries there's a True Gospel, which is a recovery ministry. And the
okay.
recovery ministry, they need community service hours. So when True Gospel comes in and helps us, what they'll do, they come in early and help us to unload the food and get everything set up. And that's their community service. And then we'll also supplement some of their food costs. We're not paying them, but we're helping them because that's a ministry as well. So we can kind of pass on some of the blessing that we have, because we've been blessed abundantly through relationships with grocery stores, the food bank, and other organizations.
So are your services zip code specific?
No, we're not zip code restricted at all. If you can
Okay.
come in, you have a valid ID. If you come in, we'll get you signed up, and you can receive a minimum of 60 pounds of food every 2 weeks. But one thing about us at Bethel is we're trying to 60 pounds of food may not last you 2 weeks.
Sure.
So we're trying to make sure that we have some stopgap supplemental stuff that will last you 2 weeks. A lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, and even some other things, some snacks and chips and things like that too. It's not just where we're going to give you the stuff that we think that you should have. We're going to give you some of the stuff that people would want.
Sure. So tell me, are there some other services that Bethel's Family provides in addition to food?
Yes. Now we have the greatest thing that I have experienced in working in this ministry over the past 20 years is that we are a community-based ministry with community service at our core. So we've got four 501c3s that are separate nonprofits that are affiliated with the church.
Okay.
So one is Bethel's Place Empowerment Center. Bethel's Place Empowerment Center, we have a reentry program for young people that come in or come out of the judicial and legal system. And we try to get them through where they can learn the interview process. We have clothing that we'll give them. We even have some employers that will hire people that have a past.
Okay.
And we connect the employers to the young people, but we also give them some training about how they should operate and how they should act, if you will.
Sure. Yes. How to carry themselves.
How to carry themselves. Thank you. I was looking for the proper word, but sometimes when you do on the ground ministry, I'll tell them that this is how you need to act.
Right. Behave yourself. Right.
And so that's what Bethel's Place Empowerment Center, along with other things where we have some domestic violence and some youth drug assistance. And when I say assistance, there's programs that we have to help to keep the kids off of drugs, to educate them and let them know the things that to look for, and the parents to look out for as well. And we have the domestic violence programs where we're connected with the city. And if you're a victim of domestic violence, there's some things that we have in place to help you to be able to get to, just through a very short period of time.
That's awesome. So how can we be praying for you? How can we support you? And where do people go to find that information out?
You can pray for us that God continues to send us the laborers.
Okay.
The Bible says, that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few.
Mm-hmm.
So you pray to the Lord of the harvest that he would send the workers.
Yes.
So we're going to pray to the Lord of harvest that he would continue to send us the workers and send us the resources to meet the needs there in that community.
Yes.
And not just that community, but in the city of Houston as well, because you can we have people that come all the way from Conroe to go to our pantry. And I even asked them, said, you guys are passing several pantries, but they said, what we found out and what we've heard, and it really blessed me, said that the people are so loving and they're so caring here at Bethel. Mm-hmm. I would rather get a bag of groceries from Bethel than a box of groceries from other places. Wow. And I'm not saying that in a way to be braggadocious or to be boastful.
Sure.
I'm saying that because when we think about the Community Impact Award, it's not anything that I've done.
Right.
It's what the people that are there in and around the organization and how they love people.
Sure.
The heart of our church, the heart of our pastor, the heart of the ministry, and the heart of Jesus. And as long as we are carrying ourselves as the hands and feet of Jesus Christ on the ground, people are going to want to come. That if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men. We're lifting Jesus Christ by showing people love.
That's right. That's awesome.
That's where we're trying to be. Now, how do you reach us? We are at BethelsHeavenlyHands.org. That's our website. And we're located at 12660 Sandpiper Road. That's Houston, Texas, 77035.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful work that Bethel's Heavenly Hands, under your leadership, and certainly Pastor Walter August, who's such a statesman in our city.
Yes.
The wonderful work that you all are doing. And you have been listening to James Lee, the executive director of Bethel's Heavenly Hands. They were the award recipients for our nonprofit category for KSBJ's Community Impact Award. So thank you, James, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
And also thanks to Ed Newby, who joined us as the president of All Star AC and Heating Services with Operation Snowstorm. Last week, you had the opportunity to meet the winner in our individual category, Mr. Kyle Buthod. And again, we are just so proud of all of this year's KSBJ Community Impact Award recipients who are doing such amazing work throughout our city and really are an embodiment of our mission, which is to love Jesus, serve others, and spread hope. And so if you'd like to hear the stories of our Community Impact Award recipients, text the word impact to 893-893, and it will lead you to our KSBJ website. And as always, thank you, our wonderful audience, for joining us. And we hope you'll join us again next week for another edition of Community Beat. I'm Kim Kasi McKee on 89.3 KSBJ.
Thanks for joining us for Community Beat with Kim Kasi McKee. Join us every Saturday morning at 5:30 on 89.3 KSBJ.